Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. Just had to do another video about this clown. I was watching another YouTuber. He is just, I swear to God, it's just amazing. Some of these guys, like how delusional they are. So the video I'm talking about is a comparison video that the knucklehead It's Complicated did, comparing a Batman Rolex fake to a Batman Rolex legitimate, or we assume is legitimate, right? Probably is. It's just amazing that when you see this guy, this is exactly the crazy, delusional, brain dead Rolex owner's mentality about this. He's comparing these two watches. Now, granted, one is a $17,000, we hope, a genuine Rolex. The other one is like a DH Gate special you can get for about 50 to 80 bucks. And it's amazing to me that even in this video, when you're looking at them, like right here, the average person, and I'm a little above the average person. I have 160 watches from all different brands. I've handled so many watches. I'm a fanatic when it comes to watches. I know what you get for your money. I know what brands are going to give you a great value and what brands are not, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? When you a person with common sense who is watching this video and then actually hearing this delusional knucklehead talk, yeah, it's unbelievable to me. This guy is like making these comparisons if somebody's really going to be able to tell the difference between these two watches. That is absolutely absurd. These watches are so close, at least on video. And when you see these in person, they're gonna a picture is worth 1,000 words, and so is a video. Yes, there are differences. I mean, you'd have to be a complete moron to think that there are no differences between an $80 watch and a $17,000 watch. Of course there are differences. But again, these Rolex idiots will try to over-embellish these things. The average person is not going to be able to tell the difference. And what's really funny about this is that he's making these calls about, oh, the average person, the blue. The blue in this video is so close, you can't even tell the difference in the video. This is the delusional mindset of the Rolex owner. This is the delusional mindset of the watch snob who actually over-embellishes these differences in quality, or in some cases not even quality. A color difference is not a difference in quality. A color difference is just a color difference. It has nothing to do with whether one's better than another. You can't say that this color blue is better because Rolex makes it. It's just an authentic Rolex color versus a non-authentic Rolex watch, right? Using that, trying to duplicate that color. It's unbelievable. I mean, this is an $80 is too much for this fake watch. You can get this watch for $50 all day long on DH Gate or AliExpress. The differences that you can see and feel with these watches are so slim that you'd have to own a Rolex watch and be you'd have to be a Rolex bitch to actually stare at the Rolex watch so much and fondle it and make love to it, and probably in this case, right, to know that there's any difference between these two watches. What I can see right off the bat, that being a watch guy, based on this video and freezing the frame, is the fact that you can see that, and he points out that there is a higher beat in the movement. But if you didn't have these watches side by side, and really under bright light and really nitpicking them apart, you would not be able to tell that movement was not a genuine Rolex movement. When you look at things like the bezel, okay, granted, the bezel turning on a Rolex compared to some of these, some of the inexpensive, watches you'll get, not just, replicas, but some of the watches you get, it's a 60-click bezel and it's a little bit sloppy, right? That you're probably not gonna find that, or at least you shouldn't on a Rolex watch. But it's funny he mentions the pip not lining up. I know for a fact that there's thousands of Rolex watches that the pip doesn't line up, that the bezel does not line up with the 12 o'clock position. That's a common problem with a lot of Rolex watches. So maybe on his it lined up. I can show you a dozen $80 watches where there's no question, there's no slop in the bezel, there's no problem with the bezel lining up or the pip lining up. So that's an absurd statement. Now, I can say that when I look at these two watches, I can see a tolerance difference in manufacturing. So when I look at the genuine Rolex, the tolerances where the band meets the case are extremely tight, whereas on the replica watch, they're a little bit larger. I'd say maybe the distance is maybe 2 to 3 times larger in that gap. Again, that's just a design, I mean, the way it's manufactured. If I show you my Pagani design watch, these tolerances where the band meets, the end link meets the lugs, That's right on par with what you're seeing from the Rolex watch. So, I mean, for $80, I mean, that's not some insane quality difference that you're getting there. That's not rocket science. This is not something that's like, oh man, this is really what you're paying for. Absolute nonsense. Now, I'm sure the other thing you could probably tell with a replica watch of this caliber is if you were to unscrew the crown and feel how the movement feels, you would probably feel a slightly grittier feel, not quite as smooth on the replica watch. Again, I'm just guessing here based on some of the things that I felt, but it's not something you're gonna feel. It's not like they make it out to be like you've taken like, I don't know, a bunch of sand and dumped it in a moving part and that's how it feels. It doesn't feel that way. It's just not quite as smooth. It's not like this crazy difference where it's like, oh my God, let me get the vice grip and really turn this crown. It's not like that at all, you know? Now, of course, you're probably gonna have differences with a watch like this in the crystal. Visually, you can't tell the difference, but one, you know, is most likely sapphire, and the other one could be sapphire, but it probably isn't. What's really interesting about this is this clown just had this Rolex watch serviced because it had a cracked link, right? So let's talk about quality here. How in God's earth does a link crack? That doesn't crack because of abuse. That cracks because it wasn't properly manufactured. It is almost impossible for you to wear a watch and under normal wear and tear, no matter how hard I am on the watch, even if I got this caught on something and yanked it, I would probably break my wrist before a properly manufactured link would break. The amount of force it takes to crack a link like that is way beyond your bone or your skin can handle. So absolute nonsense. A crack like that comes from defective manufacturing, or granted, it's not impossible that maybe somebody replaced a link on the watch. I don't know why you would have to unless you had a problem with it. 160 watches, I don't have any cracked links, right? Even on $20 watches, I don't have cracked links. I'm not sure how exactly that happens. To me, that doesn't happen from somebody wearing it, from somebody dropping it. That happens due to manufacturing problems. And again, we're just guessing here, but just use physics, use common sense in how does a link made of steel. Remember, the 904 is supposedly superior. How in God's earth do you crack that? That's in order for me to crack a link, do you know I would have to probably rip my wrist off, right? So absurd, right? Completely absurd. You know, and again, this is the mentality of the Rolex, and I'm not saying all of the Rolex guys. There's lots of guys who subscribe to my channel who talk watches. They're part of the groups, you know, that are really, they exercise common sense with this stuff, you know. They're not going to sit here and tell you that, oh, there's a big difference. No, there's only a big difference because you know that one's real and one's not. And you're making it out to be more of a difference than it actually is. Naturally, of course, there's going to be a difference between a $17,000 watch and a $50 DHgate special. But again, it's not what these guys will lead you to believe. They make it sound like if you wear this watch and a guy who owns a Rolex sees you wearing it on your wrist, out in a restaurant or casino, wherever you may be, that he's going to instantly be like, oh man, it's fake. That's absolutely absurd. Again, he may be able to tell if you were to take them both off and really analyze them and probably be able to spot one if it's a decent fake. Now, if you start getting involved, and what's really interesting about one of the guys who commented here, this guy said, hate to break it to you, and he's right, for $500 or $600, you can get a real quality rep, right? And the differences are almost non-existent. And if you've looked at other YouTubers, don't take my word for it, look at guys who have reviewed noob replicas and noob fakes, and you will see that these watches are so close that even when you pop the cap off the back, right, even when you pop off the case back, that they've replicated the movements. And you know, granted, a skilled person, right? And I don't mean the average guy who's buying a watch reviewing it. I don't even mean myself. I mean a skilled jewelry maker, a skilled Rolex, you know, tech would be able to tell those differences because they're extremely familiar with what the real one's supposed to look like. But the normal average watch collector, and I'm not even the average watch collector, I'm above the normal collector, right? But still, even with those differences are so close. And I have a couple noob cheapies, and I'll tell you, the quality is pretty amazing for $50. I mean, it really is. Is it as nice as my Pagani design? Not as nice, you know, but it's awfully close. And when you start looking at the differences in these types of knuckleheads and these watches and these guys talking about them, it's completely fake news. I mean, it is completely fake news. It's like some guy being able to you know, after you spray on a replica cologne or a design, not a designer imposter, but yeah, yeah, there are differences. You know, you can go Dollar Tree and get like these inspired perfumes, and they're super weak, super concentration, but the smell is there, you know. And for a guy who owns it, you might just think that, you know, if you buy Creed Aventus and then you buy the, you know, and I'm using a really cheap 99-cent designer imposter, right? If you buy like a decent, you know, $20 bottle of cologne, yeah, the concentration may not be as good, but it's awfully close. And to make the argument, some guys will make the argument, oh, you can tell the difference. No, you can't, because cologne changes on your body. It blends with your own natural juices. It blends with the detergent you wear. It changes, and it changes as you wear it. So that will argue, you know, oh, you can tell the difference. No, you can't. And this is no difference. Again, that's the person who owns the legitimate watch or the legitimate product really making a rationale on why they spent the extra money, that there's this huge difference. And there really isn't, you know. Again, I mean, of course there's a difference in these things, but not the way these clowns make it sound. So I encourage you to check out this Knuckleheads video. Drop a comment on my channel. Drop one on his. I mean, it's cool. And just, incredible, guys. Thanks for listening to me rant. These guys are clowns, and they do make me laugh. It's funny. It's funny too in the video. He's like, you know, you're not gonna see you're not gonna see, you know, a guy wearing a $17,000 watch. Dude, like he's the only one who could afford it. Are you joking? Look, Rolex sells more watches, I think, than any other brand. There are thousands and thousands of people wearing legitimate Rolex watches. You're not special. There's nothing special about the fact that you pissed away $17,000 on on an overly hyped up, marked up watch. But hey, you do you. Have a nice day.